What if a single 2-minute habit could radically change your financial future? And what if the real key to building lasting wealth isn't about doing times, more side hustles, more investments, more frantic work, but about doing dramatically times less asterisk? It's a strange idea in a world obsessed with hustle. We're taught that a packed calendar is a status symbol and that juggling a dozen projects is the only path to success. But let's be honest, this constant busyness is a trap. It gives you the illusion times of progress, while it's actually diluting your energy, scattering your focus, and preventing you from achieving anything truly great. Most people live their lives spread thin. They're perpetually busy but rarely productive in a way that actually moves the needle. They end up with a collection of half-finished projects, forgotten goals, and a nagging feeling of being stuck, wondering why all their hard work isn't paying off. The problem isn't a lack of ambition, it's a lack of focus. And according to a powerful story about one of history's most successful investors, the solution is to master the art of strategic elimination. We're about to break down a simple two-list strategy that is widely attributed to Warren Buffett. Now, whether this story is 100% true or a brilliant piece of financial folklore, the lesson it contains is a perfect reflection of how the Oracle of Omaha actually thinks. It's a method that separates your most important wealth-building goals from the shiny distractions that keep most people financially stuck. This isn't just another productivity hack. It's a philosophy that explains how Buffett built a multi-billion-dollar empire, not by chasing every opportunity, but by ruthlessly ignoring almost all of them. Stay with us, because the twist in this strategy is what separates the merely busy from the truly wealthy. As the legend goes, this powerful rule came from a private conversation between Warren Buffett and his personal pilot of 10 years, a man named Mike Flint. Flint was incredibly accomplished, having flown for 4 US presidents. But despite his success, he felt like his career had hit a wall. He had plenty of goals, but he wasn't making real progress on any of them. He was, like so many of us, busy but not really getting anywhere. In response, Buffett didn't offer complicated career advice. Instead, he suggested a simple 3-step exercise. This exercise would become the foundation of what's now known as the 5/25 rule. It was a moment of mentorship that revealed the massive difference between simply times having times goals and actually times achieving times them. Buffett, a man who understands the value of time better than anyone, knew that the greatest threat to success isn't failure, it's distraction. He saw that Flint's problem wasn't a lack of ambition, but a dilution of it. The advice he was about to give was a reflection of the very principles he used to build Berkshire Hathaway. True success, the kind that compounds over a lifetime, requires an almost fanatical level of focus. What happened next is a masterclass in prioritization. The exercise Buffett supposedly laid out for his pilot was deceptively simple. All it took was a pen, a piece of paper, and a moment of brutal honesty. First, Buffett asked Flint to list his top 25 career and life goals. These weren't just weekly to-dos, but the big ambitions. Think about it for yourself. Pay off all debt, start a successful online business, learn Spanish, achieve a $1 million net worth, run a marathon. The point is to get everything out of your head. Don't filter or judge them yet. For most people, this step is liberating, a chance to dream and see all your ambitions in one place. Next, Buffett told him to review the list and circle the 5 that were the absolute most important. This is where it gets tough. It forces you to decide what truly times matters. Which 5 goals would have the biggest, most positive impact on your life? This isn't about what's easiest. It's about what's most critical to your ultimate vision. This single act of circling just 5 things creates instant clarity. It cuts through the noise and shines a spotlight on your true priorities. So now, Mike Flint had 2 lists. List A was the 5 goals he'd circled his top priorities. List B was the other 20. These were still important, worthwhile goals. They just didn't make the top 5. When Buffett asked what his plan was for the second list, Flint gave the answer most of us would. He said something like, "The top 5 are my main focus, but the other 20 are still important. I'll work on them intermittently when I have free time. I don't want to forget them." And that right there, that's the exact thinking that keeps most people from ever achieving extraordinary success. It sounds responsible, but according to Buffett, it's completely wrong. This is the moment where the simple exercise becomes a profound lesson. Hearing Flint's plan, Buffett supposedly replied with a twist that changes everything. "No, you've got it all wrong," he said. "Everything you didn't circle just became your avoid at all cost list. No matter what, these things get none of your attention until you've succeeded with your top 5. Let that sink in. Those 20 other goals weren't a B list or a someday list. They were now the enemy. They were to be actively and ruthlessly avoided. This is the brutal genius of the strategy. The biggest threat to your most important goals isn't laziness. It's the group of good goals that are still appealing, still justifiable, but ultimately distract you from the great ones. These 20 items are dangerous times because times they're your own ambitions. It's easy to say no to a bad idea. It's incredibly hard to say no to a good one you came up with yourself. Yet, this discipline is the fundamental difference between success and massive success. Every bit of energy you give to goal hash on 7 is energy stolen from goal hash on. The brilliance of this rule and why it rings so true to Buffett's documented thinking is that it's rooted in the mathematics of compounding, which applies to effort just as much as it does to money. At its core, the two-list strategy is an attack on the myth of multitasking. When we try to focus on too many things at once, we pay a switching tax every time our attention shifts. This constant context switching kills our momentum and prevents us from doing the deep work where real breakthroughs happen. This idea is perfectly mirrored in Buffett's actual investment philosophy. He talks about a circle of competence, advising investors to define what they understand and stick rigidly within that circle. During the dot-com boom, he was criticized for avoiding tech stocks. His reason? He didn't understand them. He ignored the shiny, popular distractions and made huge, concentrated bets on the few businesses he knew inside and out, like Coca-Cola. Buffett even has a 20-punch card analogy for investors. Pretend you have a punch card with only 20 slots in your lifetime. Every investment you make punches a hole. You'd be a lot more careful about what you choose, wouldn't you? The 5/25 rule applies this exact logic to your life. Your top 5 goals are your circle of competence. The other 20 are the speculative ventures that will drain your time and energy. Spreading your focus too thin is the personal finance equivalent of divorcification, diversifying so much that you guarantee mediocrity. Think of it like this. If you have a bucket of water, you can sprinkle it across 25 plants, or you can fully saturate the 5 most promising ones until they bear fruit. The first approach keeps them all barely alive. The second leads to a real harvest. The hardest part of this strategy is letting go of those other 20 goals. They aren't bad ideas, they're your times, ideas. Learning guitar, starting a podcast, writing a screenplay, these are worthy pursuits, and that's what makes them so dangerously seductive. The author Jim Collins nailed this in his book Times Good to Great, when he wrote that the enemy of great isn't bad, it's good. Most people and companies don't fail because they're awful. They stall because they settle for being good. They try to do a little bit of everything and never achieve mastery in the one thing that can make them truly great. The two-list strategy is a practical tool to fight this. It forces you to admit a harsh truth. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. Truly successful people say no to almost everything. They say no to good projects, interesting invitations, and exciting opportunities that don't serve their main purpose. This feels unnatural. We're wired to add, to accumulate, to chase the next new thing. But in the world of high achievement, elimination is more powerful than addition. As Bruce Lee famously said, it is not daily increase, but daily decrease. Hack away at the unessential. When you only have 5 goals, your mind gains incredible clarity. Suddenly, decision fatigue vanishes because you have a simple filter for everything. Does this help me achieve one of my top 5 goals? If the answer is no, the decision is already made. This focus creates a snowball effect. As you pour your energy into your top goals, you make real progress. That progress is motivating, and success starts to breed more success. Another concept Buffett understands better than anyone. Now, it's your turn. Hearing about this is interesting, but applying it is what really matters. I'm challenging you to take 10 minutes right now to try this. Grab a piece of paper, find a quiet spot where you can be brutally honest with yourself. First, just write. List 25 things you want to accomplish: career, finance, health, anything. Get them all out. Now, take a breath. Review that list and circle the 5 that truly, deeply matter. The 5 that, if you achieve them, would define success on your terms. Be ruthless. This is your life's priority list. Finally, take another piece of paper. At the top, write your 5 circled goals under the heading My Focus. Then write the other 20 goals under the heading Avoid at all cost. Look at that second list. Acknowledge that they are good, tempting ideas. And then commit to ignoring them completely until you've crushed your top 5. The 2-list strategy is more than a productivity tip. It's a philosophy for a focused life. It teaches us that ambition without focus is just wasted energy. Whether the story of the pilot is fact or fable, the principle is undeniable and directly reflects how Warren Buffett operates. In a world overflowing with distractions, the ability to say no is a superpower. It's the courage to ignore good ideas so you can pour your soul into the great ones. Your future won't be defined by the number of things you start, but by the handful of things you have the discipline to finish. So make your list, define your 5, and get to work, knowing you're finally putting your energy exactly where it matters most. The difference between a life of scattered results and a life of massive success lies in those 2 simple lists.